babes, it's your girl Naomi Ida, and welcome back to my channel. Today's video isn't about fashion, nor is it about beauty, but I think it falls under the category of lifestyle since it's part of my lifestyle. Today I'm going to share with you guys my vinyl record collection. If you have watched my Get to Know Me tag, and if you haven't, go ahead and check it out right here. In that video, I have mentioned that I am an avid record collector. I also said that I had 15 to 20 records, and it turns out I lied. I went back into my collection, I recounted everything, and it turns out I have 46. 46 records. That is more than double the amount that I have estimated. That's 4 shy of 50, which is half of 100. Hello, my name is Naomi Ida, and I am a recordholic. Hi, Naomi. So that's way too many records to cover in one video, and I've come to the decision of breaking this down into a mini-series consisting of probably 3 videos. This video will cover the artists whose names start with the letters A through H. Whenever I listen to music, I get very nostalgic and it brings back a memory, so with this video I am going to name my favorite songs off of each album as well as a favorite memory of mine from each album. If you like this video, make sure you subscribe and click the bell button so you're the first to know about my new videos. Before I get started, I want to let you guys know that a majority of my record collection consists of albums that are more on the throwback side. When I first started this collection, I mostly listened to songs that came out between the 50s and the 90s. What can I say? I am an old soul, you guys. But times are changing and so am I, and although I love my old school music, I for sure plan on buying more recent records and just more records period because I am addicted. The first album in my collection, and the one that has definitely seen better days, is my Aretha's Greatest Hits album by the Queen of Soul herself, Aretha Franklin. I actually didn't buy this record. I actually found it in my mom's old record collection. Ironically enough, I found this on the day she passed away in 2018. I was going through old stuff in my family's basement, and I actually found this at the bottom of one of the storage bins. As you can see, the cover is pretty battered up, and when I first found it, it was a little bit worse than this. I was nervous to see if it still works, but luckily after cleaning it up, it plays with no skips. My favorite songs off this album are Baby I Love You, I Never Loved a Man the Way That I Loved You, and Don't Play That Song. Also, her cover of Let It Be is, in my opinion, by far the best cover of that song ever. And speaking of the Beatles, next up is Abbey Road by the Beatles. And I actually bought this at Abbey Road in London back in 2018, and of course while I was there I recreated the iconic album cover. I really got into the Beatles my sophomore year of college, and when I was planning my trip to London that summer, I just knew I couldn't leave without visiting Abbey Road Studios. I was planning on buying this album as well as the White Album, but unfortunately they were sold out of the White Album. But I got a pretty cool story for that coming up next. Abbey Road is one of my favorite albums from the Beatles catalog. I prefer the albums that came out post Rubber Soul, post Revolver era. I feel like they really found their unique sound later on in their career. My favorite songs off this album are Oh Darling, I Want You, and Octopus's Garden because it's a fun song. Next up is the White Album by the Beatles. I'm just gonna put the album down. The whiteness of the album is messing with the camera and the lighting, so I'm just going to have it right in front of me. Although I was bummed I couldn't buy this in London, I actually ended up buying it in LA a year later at Amoeba Music, and this album is hands down my favorite Beatles album, without a doubt. I just love how you can hear where each member of the band was musically, especially since this album was recorded when the band was at the brink of breaking up. You can really tell which songs were written by Paul or which songs were written by George and so on and so forth, because at that point everyone's style was just so different. I have way too many favorites off this album, but to name a few, I like Cry Baby Cry, Obla Di Obla Da, Your Blues, and I Will. My battery just died and I just switched it out, so I hope that it's like the setting still looks the same. But we're back. Next up is another album by the Beatles, and that is A Hard Day's Night. I bought this album in Alphabet City in Manhattan at one of the many hole-in-the-wall record shops, and I can't remember the name of it, unfortunately. I noticed the cover looks different compared to the one that I have on my Spotify. This is the one I see on my Spotify. So when I got home, I did a little research, and I discovered that when the Beatles first got big in the US, some of their earlier albums had different names or different cover arts in the US compared to how they looked in the UK. So this is the original US version of A Hard Day's Night that was pressed in 1964. Interesting, right? I love getting hand-me-down records because I feel like they have a whole different story behind them. My favorite songs off this album is If I Fell, and I Love Her, and I'm Happy Just to Dance With You. The next album, and the last one I have by the Beatles, I swear, is Let It Be. This album was part of my first purchase from a record shop. It's also one of the cheapest albums I've ever purchased. I bought this at a record shop a few towns over from my hometown, and I got it for $1. This is another top favorite Beatles album of mine. This album was my formal introduction to the band, and it was the first time I've heard their lesser popular songs. My favorite songs off this album is For You Blue, Get Back, Two of Us, and of course Let It Be. My next album is Lemonade by Beyonce, and this album is a complete masterpiece. This album takes you through all of the emotions. Oh my gosh. I was also late to the Beehive party and did not listen to this album for the first time until last year. I know. I don't get it either. I know. I literally have no excuse. Like none. Like, that girl. But I also first heard this album when I was going through a really rough patch in college. I was feeling depressed and unmotivated and really in a slump for my sophomore and junior year. I really look towards music as a form of therapy, and I make playlists based on how I'm feeling. And I got to this point, and I feel like everybody gets to this point at some time when you just get tired of your constant flow of music in your library, and I just got tired of hearing my songs over and over and over again. And then Lemonade came out on Spotify last year, and I have never listened to the album before. I heard like some of the songs, but not all of them. Finally listened to Lemonade when it came out on Spotify. I have never listened to an album that takes you through all of the stages of grief and have a song for each stage, and have a song really vocalize and personify what you're feeling, and visually, because if you haven't seen the visual album, I mean, you have to. It's incredible. Also, the album did a beautiful job depicting the strength and the power of Black women, and seeing so many Black women in one film, and so many that are just role models to this day and are still influencing Black women, and it's incredible. Like, yes, Black girl magic, you guys. Black girl magic, because we got, I can't snap with this finger. I can't snap with this finger either. We got it. Soon after I heard this album, I bought it from Urban Outfitters, and I absolutely love how this vinyl is yellow like lemonade. It's just, I have a thing for colored vinyls, you guys. They're just so cute. And it also comes with a book, and every 2 pages has a track, and with each track is the shots from that song in the visual album, which I think is so cute. My favorite songs off this album are Freedom, Daddy Lessons, Sandcastles, Formation, All Night, and Sorry. Next up is Legend by Bob Marley and the Wailers. I grew up listening to Bob Marley and the Wailers. My dad is a huge fan of Bob Marley. I remember sitting in the car seat as a toddler, and my dad would play endless amounts of reggae and Bob Marley, and I remember bobbing my head to like No Woman, No Cry as a little kid. My dad used to work at the college I attended. He started working there a few years before I started attending. During winter break, he came into Manhattan, and he was giving me a tour of the campus, and at the end of the tour, he took me to the Urban Outfitters on campus, and he bought me this album. And a few years later, I moved into my freshman dorm, which is actually located right next door to that Urban Outfitters. My favorite songs off this album are Redemption Song, Steer It Up, Waiting in Vain, and Satisfy My Soul. So next up is another album by Bob Marley and the Wailers, and it's Talking Blues, which is a live album. I have gotten this album from my uncle, who has a huge collection of records. My favorite songs from this album are Kinky Reggae, Bend Down Low, and Get Up Stand Up. So next up is Cyndi Lauper's She's So Unusual. And honestly, my uncle gave me this album, and I only really took it because this album has both Girls Just Wanna Have Fun and Time After Time on it. And these 2 songs are like staples in any 80s playlist, so I had to have these songs. My next album is Why Do Fools Fall in Love by Diana Ross. And can I just say that I need this outfit in my wardrobe like now? I only have this album for the same reason as I do my Cyndi Lauper album, and that's because my uncle gave it to me, and I like 2 songs off this album. I love her cover of Why Do Fools Fall in Love by Frankie Lyman and the Teenagers, as well as Endless Love with her and Lionel Richie. I'm just truly obsessed with this album cover. I need this outfit in my life right here, right now. Like, I need this. Diana Ross has always been a fashion icon, and I want to steal her clothes so bad. Next up is Manic by Halsey. First of all, I love all things Halsey. She's just so fucking amazing, and this album slaps. This album is definitely my favorite album by her so far. And look how cute the color of this vinyl is. Oh my gosh. It's not glow in the dark. I've already checked. But it's okay. I bought this from Urban Outfitters when it first went on sale. I'm obsessed with this album. I'm obsessed with her. I'm obsessed. My favorite songs off this album are You Should Be Sad, Beautiful Stranger, Graveyard, and Clementine. And next up is Harry Styles' first album, also called Harry Styles. Listen, I have been a Harry girl since the One Direction days, and I will always stand by him. Although I was one of the many Directioners that were heartbroken when the boys split up, I'm actually really glad that they did, because I feel like they all have such unique sounds. They can all be their true selves now, Harry included. I think he sounds way more authentic. I think he sounds way more like himself with his solo work compared to like the poppy, mainstream, generic music that One Direction produced, even though those were bops too. He kind of reminds me of David Bowie, and like how David Bowie always had like this very unique sound. Like even talking in terms of fashion, I feel like Harry resonates really well with David Bowie and Elton John. I bought this from Urban Outfitters, and I almost bought Fine Line with this album, but I just decided to wait and save money. My favorite songs off this album are Two Ghosts, Only Angel, Sweet Creature, and Woman. Final album I'll be showing you guys today is my Breakfast at Tiffany's soundtrack by Henry Mancini. As I have mentioned in my previous videos, I grew up a theater kid, and I also majored in film in college, so soundtracks play a huge role in my music collection. If you were to go through my songs on Spotify right now, you would see a list of just soundtracks as you scroll through my playlist. I love classic Hollywood films, especially anything with Audrey Hepburn, and Breakfast at Tiffany's is one of my favorite classic films, even though it's a bit problematic. As I mentioned before, the movie score was composed by Henry Mancini, who you may know as the composer for the Pink Panther theme song as well. This is one of the albums my uncle gave to me, and it's just so nice to listen to. Like sometimes it's just nice to unwind and listen to Moon River and just call it a day. Alright guys, that concludes part 1 of my record collection series. Thank you so much for watching. I will be posting parts 2 and 3 in the coming weeks, so stay tuned. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and while you're at it, please subscribe and click the bell button so you don't miss any of my future videos. And if you haven't already, follow me on Instagram and Twitter. I am on both those apps every single day and would love to connect with you guys. And all of my other social media links will be listed down below. Thank you so much for watching, babes, and I hope to see you in my next video. Mwah! Bye!